3,
Two,
1.
one. Monkey bars.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Second Gutter Podcast. My name is Alan.
I'm Jesse.
AKA Thicc.
You butter.
And this is episode 66. We have no
6.
guest this week,
No,
unfortunately.
it's just you and me.
Actually, no. I'm happy with just you and me. You know,
Fuck
this
everybody.
is when it started.
Yeah.
But yeah, so if you guys listened to the last episode, we had Jared Smith, who's been on the podcast before,
A couple times.
and Sean Cole, who was the first time on our podcast.
A newcomer.
Had such a great time with those two.
Yeah, thanks for coming around, guys.
And we talked about Akira, which is a badass anime movie that I had a great time talking about.
Yeah,
I
it
think
was
that
fun.
podcast turned out pretty great.
Yeah.
And it was cool because we had a bunch of different perspectives on the movie. You came from the manga background, Sean has seen it 4 times, Jared has seen it for the first time.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of cool perspectives that we all had on the movie. So we had a really interesting conversation about it. Check that out. It's on YouTube, Apple Podcast, Spotify, all that shit, Instagram, all that
Stitcher.
jazz. Stitcher.
Have you ever looked at Stitcher before?
Yeah, I have looked at it. I don't know who uses Stitcher.
Yeah.
But it's a thing.
I think it's supposed to be like pretty decent. I just don't know what it's like at all.
I think it was one of the first podcasting network sites.
Okay,
so
gotcha.
It's kind of like ancient now, but I think it was like back in the day.
This was Stitcher was just like, hey, podcasts are cool. Everybody listen to Stitcher, and everyone was responded to Stitcher by saying,
Right.
no, Stitcher, that's stupid. And then one day something happened, and Apple ate them all, and now they have all the podcasts, and Stitcher's starving.
Apple goes, hey, we're going to do our own. Apple being Apple, they steal ideas from people.
Yeah.
And they, well, I don't know if that's the right phrasing.
Yeah.
It seems that way, though. It seems that Apple, every time they come out with something like the Galaxy, Samsung already done it. You know, like the Face ID thing. While it's fun, it's like Samsung had that idea. They did it first, and then Apple did it better. So they kind of. So I think it's just like in the technology world, everyone has like they're all connected. Kind of, they have the same ideas of what.
I wonder. I do wonder if stuff like that kind of happens like all at the same time, because technological advances, like people come up with like similar ideas at the same time like that.
Yeah, I think it might
so it might be that like the tech people all just kind of know it's just like, oh yeah, dude, fucking like VR tits, that's what's next year. Apple might just be like, we're gonna wait for everyone else to make their VR tits, and then when everyone comes out and tests the water, we're gonna make a real good VR tits. And everyone's like, dude, Apple tits, iTits, that is the way to go. Fuck Windows, they never work. They're customizable, sure, but when they turn on, sometimes they don't boot up.
I gotta make a compilation of every time you need to compare, like you need to joke that just becomes sexual. I don't know how it just becomes sexual. So wait, I got a couple things that I want to talk to you about that are what happened? Are you okay?
I just coughed up my screwdriver everywhere. Oh my god.
Are you okay?
I'm choking on orange juice and vodka. Oh, I think I got that on video too.
Oh yeah, we got that.
Oh god, that was horrible.
I'm gonna make a nice slow motion edit out of that.
Oh, did you watch it happen, or did you just hear me hacking?
I saw all that.
Oh my god!
All of that happened.
Oh, what were we talking about?
I I had a couple.
I'm covered in like saliva-y orange like juice and vodka. Oh,
Ew. Um,
cools
but
me
I
off
had
a
a
little bit.
couple movie-related things that happened this week that I kind of want to
Yeah,
talk to you about. One, we gotta kind of let the Batman. We gotta
dude.
kind of
Yeah,
we gotta
definitely.
kind of let the Batman.
Yeah.
So like this like I don't know if you saw this, but like this DC fan dome.
Yeah, was it like some kind of convention
It
that
was
went
like
on?
it was like because Comic-Con was happening, they like did this like stream where the new Wonder Woman trailer came out, which I didn't even watch.
I didn't watch it either.
Not that
I
I
saw.
not that I don't care about it. I just didn't watch it. And then but so they announced like a couple things like did you see Justice League? They're putting
Yeah,
out
yeah. The
Snyder
Snyder cut.
cut.
Yeah.
Do you know how long it is?
I'm gonna guess 4 hours.
It's 4 hours.
It's
And
4 hours.
it's gonna be on HBO Max, and it's gonna be split up into.
Wow.
And like, here's my opinion about that, real quick. Justice League is a shit movie,
Yeah.
and everybody and like, I understand what happened, right? Like, Zack Snyder's daughter committed suicide. Hello. Someone knocked on my door. And he had to step down from
Uh-huh.
making Justice League. Josh Whedon came in. Can't be more different of a director than Zack Snyder. So you get this bullshit hodgepodge of a movie, right? That's
Yeah.
under 2 hours. So it's a movie that's introducing the Justice League, and it's under 2 hours. That's
Really?
insane.
Yeah, that is crazy.
Anyway,
How did that movie just must fly by? Like it just must be
oh
like
yeah,
throwing
well,
shit.
it's
It
like
must be paced
in
like
a horrible way. It's like
yeah, paced like
I remember,
Yu-Gi-Oh.
yeah.
Even and I were watching an episode of that, and we're like,
know,
Jesus Christ.
yeah, dude. But like, but like this movie, the Snyder Cut is getting
Yeah.
like a lot of press. Like I'm seeing like a lot of things about it, like on
Yeah.
Twitter, and I'm like, fucking why? Like this is
Yeah,
gonna be
right.
like I don't like I'm gonna watch it just because I'm so curious about it because
Yeah.
they must have confidence in this. So I don't know, but and the fact that it's 2 hours longer than the theatrical version, like
Right.
that's fascinating to me. Like that's like beyond a director's cut, you know?
Yeah.
That's like I don't even know what that is, but
Yeah.
so I'm interested to see it in that regard. But like at the same time, like it's gonna be bad. Like you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like it's
I,
not
I
gonna be good.
I'm really curious about that. It really seems like what this is Zack Snyder pushing to like get his real vision out there.
Yeah, which
But
is cool, but at the same time, it's like, and I also have a little bit of hope because Batman v Superman, like the theatrical cut wasn't, obviously the greatest, but
yeah,
I thought the director's cut was like much better because it was like 40 minutes added to the movie that
yeah,
kind of was more Superman stuff, which was like a huge problem with Batman v Superman for me.
yeah,
So I'm curious that like just in that regard that like the director's cut of Batman v Superman was better. So like I don't know, maybe this will be better,
yeah. And
but I
I
don't
mean,
care enough about it to like
yeah.
really like care
It
that much.
just feels like kind of a thing that's coming out as just because it says Justice League on it and because
Yeah.
people have wanted this. Like, sure, it's probably going to do
Right.
pretty well,
Yeah.
but just from like reputation. But I don't know. I kind of agree with you that
but
it's
also,
just that it can't be good. I don't
yeah,
know.
no, and also I mean, it's cool for the fans, I guess. But here's the another part that's super weird. We have the Batman, which is a movie that's coming out next year. So like, and it shows the Snyder cut. So like, you have these like I don't know. I don't care about fucking Ben Affleck playing Batman anymore.
Yeah, and
you know what I mean? Like
he's also coming back to be Batman in the
the
Flash
Flash.
movie.
I don't understand that. I don't understand that. But like
Yeah,
I couldn't even talk about that because I couldn't even form my own thoughts about it. That
yeah.
there's gonna be and also Michael Keaton apparently is coming back as Batman too.
When? For what?
Movie.
In the
So
Flash movie?
yeah, so I don't really so that means there's gonna be like 3 different Batmen. So
Yeah.
I don't really understand
Batman.
that. But let's talk about the movie that really matters. That I was so shocked that there was even a trailer for this movie
Uh-huh.
because I obviously have been very, very excited about this movie because fucking Batman rules, and also Matt Reeves is directing it. Who like I am a big fan of Matt Reeves. I love Cloverfield. I love the two Apes movies that he did. Um, and so
Yee.
I think he's a great fit. And Bob Pattinson is climbing up the ranks as one of my favorite actors. Period.
I know.
Um, so
I
I'm
agree.
just so excited for this. And this trailer was fucking awesome. I thought it was badass and great. Um,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of things that surprised me about the trailer that I actually kind of wanted to talk about because when I was it looked like they shot a lot of this movie. Like the trailer was showed a significant amount of action and
Uh-huh.
stuff going on, which was kind of shocking to me because they had to stop production. Like, I think they're shooting again, but they had to stop production, because of COVID. And so I don't like it seemed like they shot a lot. Am I
Uh,
wrong?
yeah, no, it seems like they had I really honestly thought this movie was in production hell. Like
Yeah,
I wasn't honestly confident that they were going to be able to pull it off
right.
because but it really okay, the thing to me that I thought is like, okay, it's either going to be that they shot that little bit and they got that teaser trailer and
Yeah,
then they had to stop to COVID and it's just fucked because they can't get back to it.
right.
Or they do reshoots, but it's been such a long time that everyone like can't quite get back into the vibe and it's going to be
Hmm.
weird. But it really does seem
That's
like that they
true.
got most of the production
I
done.
mean,
It
it
felt
looks
really cohesive.
Yeah, it did. Like, it looks like really like well shot. I mean, the effects. I mean, it looks like. I mean, I was surprised that it was a trailer. Like I
Yeah.
thought, like when I saw like a teaser trailer, I thought it was gonna be like Bob Pattinson in the Batcave, like just putting on the cowl. That was gonna be the end of that.
Yeah, right.
But that would have been cool. That would have been cool. But no, like we got like story. We got what this movie's kind of about. We know that
Yeah.
Riddler is the villain, which I think I mean that's what it seems like to me.
It hurts. It
Um,
sounds like I thought I heard that they're also going to introduce Catwoman and Penguin, which
yes,
makes me
Catwoman is
nervous,
in the
but
trailer. Catwoman is in the
oh,
trailer.
she is?
There's a quick shot of her
I need to watch her
and
again.
Zoe. And I'm also curious about this movie too because I know the Penguin. Yeah, like the Penguin's gonna be in this movie, and Colin Farrell is playing the Penguin.
Oh, that's
And
sick.
yeah, great actor. And you know, and I'm also interested too because I've heard that this movie's gonna be like a one-off. Like they're not anticipating like a franchise, which
Yeah.
makes me really excited about it because on the fact that they could kind of make whatever they want. They could kill Batman. They could do kind of whatever they kind of want to do. And,
Yeah.
so I'm curious about it. Like the amount of villains doesn't really bother me as long as they do it right. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's just
I yeah,
the
I
track
have
record of multiple villains in superhero movies
yeah, that's
haven't
what I'm
been
worried
great.
about. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what I'm worried
yeah,
about.
yeah,
But I do have to say that, like, you mentioning the one-off reminded me of something else I was thinking about. That this feels like when you watch the Justice League trailer, when first came out, and you watch a lot of these other just like more general superhero movies, really just bad movies in general. You see
yeah.
them like in like the trends, like Bad Boys 2 or whatever, or just the Bad Boys movies. You just see them plugging in like the tropes and the things that they should be doing.
Right.
And I was really expecting something like that, especially based on the
Yeah.
trajectory of it. With this, I was just like, I'm excited to see Bob Pattinson as Batman,
Right.
and I'm just going to be happy with that. But this felt more like Joker, like a one-off, like
Yeah.
real
And that's like
idea that has like
really
a real concept behind it.
that's what's really exciting to me about it. Because
I
like one of
agree.
the things I think what you're getting at is like one of the things about superhero movies that kind of bothers me, other than like Marvel that's like done it so well, but
Yeah.
like with DC, the setup, right? I mean, Batman v Superman, what makes me hate, I don't hate that movie, but me not like that movie, and a lot of people hate that movie, is that it's a setup movie. It's not
Yeah.
it's not the adaptation of The Dark Knight Returns, which is what it should have been, you
Yeah.
know? like not Dawn of Justice, where they're trying to shove so much things into it.
Yeah.
So it's cool to have this Matt Reeves be like, I'm just making this my take on Batman, and I'm not worrying about making a sequel to this movie and they're not going to kill Batman. They're probably going to leave it open to like doing
Yeah.
that. But it's cool that they're making it straight up like that, you know. And Bob
I
Pattinson looks. I mean, I'm not surprised. He looks fucking. He looks awesome. He
I
looks
gotta admit,
awesome.
when I saw the stills, I was like, "Oh no, what? Oh no, we're in trouble." But when I saw it in the movie, it was like, I can't believe it, but I think that works. Like that look and the emo kind of vibe. It's like
Yeah, well,
Pattinson.
that's
He has the
Batman.
mood. He does
Yeah.
have the mood. I was worried that vibe like was going to be like
Joker.
like it was going to be. I thought the slicked hair and like the emo look was going to be like the Joker, like the Jared Leto Joker
Yeah.
kind of like edgy thing. But what it is, it's more like I saw in the trailer. It's like, oh wait, no, this is like he's tired from wearing the suit and like he's like, where's this? It's like this is his makeup from like
Yeah,
coming
right. I
from
mean, it makes
battle.
sense. I mean, like that's been something like in the comics where he has like kind of these like that would make sense. I mean, if you
Yeah,
can't see your eyes, you black it out. He's kind of we're talking about. There's a shot in the trailer where he takes off his cowl and he has this black, makeup on his eyes.
yeah,
That looks, like Robert Smith from The Cure. That's the
yeah.
first thing I thought.
Yes,
But
yes. Or
but
Edward Scissorhands.
so, and I also know that this is from the adaptation of like it's going for year 2, so he hasn't been Batman for very long,
I was
and
wondering
so
about that.
and that kind of explains like kind of this his suit isn't like you know it looks like he's just wearing like boots. He doesn't look
Mm-hmm.
like the fully formed gadget out Batman that we got in the earlier and previous
Christian Bale.
incarnations.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, which I love. Like that's like one of my favorite Batman storylines is like the year 1
yeah.
Batman. So like that would be really cool to see that. Because we got that with Batman Begins, but like it would be cool to see like a different version of that, and like not the origin story. Because I know this isn't an origin story. He's
Yeah,
gonna be Batman from the start. That's what they also said. It's like you're not gonna see him become Batman. He's already
yeah,
gonna be Batman.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
but
please, no more of Bruce Wayne as a little kid
yeah,
falling in that fucking cave and
exactly. No
seeing the
more. No
bats like
more. We
I'm a
don't need
Batman.
that
It's like
anymore. Yeah.
I've seen it
We
so many
it's
times.
like Spider-Man. We don't need that anymore.
Yeah,
We don't need to see. We know how Batman became Batman.
yeah, yeah.
But
I think
we
that's a
gotta
really
talk
good thing
about the moment in the trailer that we
that
were
everyone
watching.
talks about.
Everybody
Yeah.
talks about that fucking takedown, dude. That
Wow.
takedown
Wow.
is fucking bad ass. Holy crap! When he just like that one shot of him, no cuts, just fucking bitch slapping him, and,
Yeah.
like just smashing him to the ground. Just
Yeah.
looks up, I am vengeance. It's like,
Yeah. See, I like that.
dude,
I love that so
oh,
much because that kind of
oh.
fighting, like the more choreographed fighting of like the Christian Bale thing, it looks cool, but I never found that it didn't have like the
That's
gritty
one of the. I
satisfaction to it.
totally agree. Well, that's one of I love the Dark Knight trilogy as much as everybody, but that's one of my biggest pet peeves about that movie. I do not get the sense that he is this martial arts fucking
Yeah.
master in those movies. That's what I kind of liked about elements of the Ben Affleck Batman. That like
Yeah.
you kind of got his fighting. He is the master of every martial arts ever. So, and you don't
Yeah.
really get that with the Nolan trilogy. And so I want to see more shit like that,
Yeah, and I
more
like
visceral.
this. I like this too because it shows, especially it makes sense that he's like in year 2 because it shows that it's like, okay, this guy is like a disciplined fighter, but he's not like basing it on he's not like super controlled. He
Yeah,
hasn't like
yeah,
controlled his violence
right,
like some older
exactly, yeah,
Viking Batman forms have. He's
right,
like he just unleashed like anger
yeah,
and like he's so pissed
yeah,
and he's just sort
yeah,
of like just crazy but like still
right.
so
And that's my
controlled and
favorite.
brutal.
That's my favorite Batman because Batman, at the end of the day, is a crazy person,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so, so I love and Pattinson he has the look. He has like his Bruce Wayne look. There's one shot that is just I'm just like this dude is a perfect casting. It is a
Yeah, it really is.
perfect casting. All it comes down to is if this movie is going to be well executed and fun to watch,
Yeah.
And from this
You
trailer, I
know,
was so
you
surprised that
you know
it
what?
does.
You know what? Let's I want to shout out like Bob Pattinson a little bit for people who might not be quite up to speed. Like
On
but
board.
if like with him, because yes, probably what people know him the most from is still Twilight. But
Unfortunately.
that's not the character
Yeah.
that's not the actor he is
Yeah.
anymore. Go watch The Lighthouse. Go watch High Life.
Highlight.
Go
Go watch
watch
Good Time. Go
go
watch.
watch Good Time.
He's been in so many great. I mean, he has two. He has what does he have coming out? Oh, Tenet. Tenet comes out.
Yeah, right.
There's that coming out. He has this cool Netflix movie with Tom Holland coming out like a month called The Devil.
I heard about
Whatever.
that. Yeah.
He looks awesome in it. He's not that actor anymore, and yeah. So yeah, I kind of roll my eyes when people are like the Twilight guy. Like, dude, you are
Yeah.
far gone, man. You
Yeah.
gotta fucking do some research.
Yeah. I mean, like it's understandable that like I thought that too, but
Sure.
like
You did research. You watched his other.
Yeah, I
movies.
watch his movies and he's not like that anymore.
Yeah.
You
No.
know, speaking, you mentioned Tenet. What do you know about that movie?
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's another thing that I wanted to mention to you. I am seeing Tenet.
You are
Yes.
in theaters?
Yes. I want to make a clear thing.
Okay.
My stance. So Tenet, I was not aware of this until a week ago. I was like, "Oh, this movie's coming out." I had no idea. I
Yeah.
had no clue.
It
And
kind of
so
just came out of
I
nowhere.
got this email from my local theater in
Uh-huh.
Switzerland. They sent an email out. They're like, "Hey, we're playing Tenet. Here are our guidelines. What we're gonna do. Buy tickets if you want." And I said, "I'm gonna do it."
Yeah.
So here's my stance on that. I am excited to see Tenet. I'm seeing it next Wednesday. I'm excited. Um, but I am happy that I'm seeing it in my local theater because one, I've worked there for like a year. Like I know the people there. I know who own it. They're only allowing 25 people in the theater.
That's great.
Yeah, and so I feel safe, right, going there. But what I want to put out there to people is like, if this wasn't showing at my local theater, I would not be going to see Tenet.
Yeah.
And that's just because I'm not. I understand Warner Brothers for releasing it because the rest of the world is fine. Uh, like London, like is totally okay. But at the
Yeah.
same time, it's like I don't know. I feel really weird about it because I don't begrudge Warner Brothers for doing it. I personally wouldn't go to like a Cinemark, like a public theater, really to see it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like it's such a weird thing, right? Because I'm gonna see it, and it's gonna be this weird thing where like I don't know, it's gonna be really weird. First of all,
Yeah.
seeing a movie in theaters
Yeah.
and
After such a
it
long
being one
time.
of the most highly anticipated movies of the year.
Yeah.
Like one of the only movies that is coming out.
Yeah, for this year.
Um, so it's pretty bizarre, but
Yeah, I think
I'm
that
definitely going to report back on this podcast.
I'm really curious. I'll look into it because Boulder does a really good job
Yeah,
with
you should actually look
COVID.
into it because
I'll look into it.
I mean, some theaters are. I don't trust like big corporations, right? I don't trust like
Sure.
AMC,
Sure.
Cinemark. I don't trust those big. But if you find like a kind of a local small theater that is really paying attention to the safety of their their visitors.
Yeah.
I don't see like why. I mean, like I'm gonna be in a giant theater where there's like 25 rows. There's gonna be like
Yeah.
one person per row. You know,
Okay,
so, like,
yeah, so like here's the thing. Here's the thing. I've been in Boulder and I have been going out and like going to restaurants and at these restaurants, like inside restaurants and taking off my mask to eat and stuff.
Yeah, right.
And that's been pretty fine. There's been no outbreak in Boulder. And I and Eva have not gotten sick. That being said, it could be that there's just not that many cases in Boulder. So if there were cases in Boulder, then we would get sick. So like it's really hard to say that's like, oh, it's not really that bad. If as long as you stay far enough away and you're always wearing a mask, you're probably chill.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing. You just got to gauge like if Swickly, if there's only 25 people in that theater and every single one of them are wearing masks and all of them are sitting 6 feet apart and they all leave 6 feet apart from each other, it's like that's not bad. That's pretty good.
I feel comfortable because I know the people who work there. Like I know who own. Like you know what I mean. So it's like
yeah, sure.
I just feel like kind of, and also I want to support them. You know, I want because they're in a bad spot right now, or no one's seeing a movie, so I want to give them money and give them my support. So it's this weird thing, you know. So, but I'm not going to be on this podcast and be like, go see Tenet, you know?
No.
I'm not going to do that. Do whatever you want to do. Just be safe, you know?
It's really not safe to tell people to go and do anything.
No, and that's what's kind of, like, weird to me about it, right? Is that Warner Brothers obviously wants people to go see Tenet, right? Go see the movie. So it's weird, you know? It's weird because the rest of the world seems cases are much lower in the rest of the world, other foreign markets.
Yeah.
You know? So I don't know.
Somebody had to take the plunge and see what happens when a big movie releases. It is a good thing, I think, to see what the case of this is.
Right.
And unfortunately, we're just going to see if there's a spike in cases or if there's not, and how the movies do, because like we're just gonna have to figure this shit out eventually. We just have to figure it out. And it's like
I'll definitely report back. I'm very excited to see it. I've heard some very interesting things about it. So
I've heard mixed things. I've heard severely mixed
things about it. I don't really take that into account at all. Because I remember when Dunkirk came out, there were mixed things about it, and I thought that movie was fucking amazing. So I think like Nolan movies, you know, they always all of them. I think at least the last few have been controversial in terms of like.
Nolan's an interesting character where he's definitely like one of the more popular directors right now, and he does. And he's really fucking good, but he's also kind of really hated too. Like people just really like to. It's really popular to not like Nolan as much as it is to like Nolan.
Like you don't have to like his movies.
It's like it's the Last of Us phenomenon. It's kind of like the Last of Us phenomenon.
It actually like frustrates me when there's like active people who hate him because he represents something that is amazing, right? He represents this original filmmaker that is making original films, like original movies on this giant scale. You know, he has been able to work in the studio system and been able to make these big original visions, right? So it's cool to see, you know.
Most of my experience of people who hate like on Nolan are like, I fucking hate Christopher Nolan. He's just like a big business, like popular kind of director. Well, let's go watch Endgame.
Well, yeah, exactly. But also to that, watch Memento, dummy.
Yeah, sure.
That movie is a masterpiece, and he made that for I don't even know. $4 million. Like he wasn't, you know, he's an amazing filmmaker. He's just making films on just such a giant scale now, you know?
Yeah.
I feel weirdly about him because on my respect, everybody sucks his dick. And that's what kind of annoys me about it. Is that like people hail him as this this god of cinema.
Yeah,
like,
right. There's that side too,
which
for
I
sure.
think in some respects he is. But he's just not someone that makes movies. Like, some of his movies I adore, obviously, like Memento and Dunkirk. But some of his other movies just don't connect to me on an emotional level. But they might some for other people. That's totally cool.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of tired of whenever a new Nolan movie comes out, all the Nolan fanboys like spam IMDb.
Yeah, that's
and,
really
like
true.
they're rated to like 9.0. You're like, you guys are fucking go see other movies, dude. Like
Yeah.
there is like, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that's what kind of frustrates me.
The
And it's not
cool
even
thing
Nolan's
about
fault, you know?
Yeah, the cool thing about Nolan is that I think he's an authentic auteur who makes very Hollywood movies.
Yeah,
And
totally. And
I just tend to not, like you're saying, I just tend to not emotionally connect with big Hollywood movies sometimes.
yeah,
I enjoy them.
exactly,
I
yeah,
like
yeah.
them a lot,
I
but I
mean,
would
they're
rather
very
watch a Lynch
his
film.
films are very plot driven. Like
Yes.
they're very
That's a good way to put it.
except for a movie like Memento to me is very character driven and plot driven. So that's what kind of made me emotionally invested in it. And
Yeah.
Dunkirk was I think his most emotional movie, just in terms of what I got out of it. I think that movie's amazing. But I know
Yeah.
some other people think that it's not one of his best movies, and I I will defend that movie to the day I die. I think it's fucking
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, he made the fucking Dark Knight, so you know
Yeah.
what I mean. So
Yeah. Totally. Totally.
I am excited to see Tenet. I'm just excited to see something weird, different on this giant scale. You know, so I'm
Yeah. Cool.
excited. But
That's some good movie news.
yeah,
I think
dude,
we've been chatting for about 30 minutes. You want to get into the main entree?
yeah, boy, yeah,
Ooh.
dude. It's a good episode. Okay, so I chose this movie, and this is one of my favorite people. Two of my favorite people in cinema
Oh
are
yeah.
involved with this movie. Actually, three. I'll throw Nicolas Cage in there too.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh.
and that is
Oh.
Spike
Oh.
Jonze
Yep.
and Charlie Kaufman. And
Yo.
they made a movie
Yeah.
in 1999 called Being John Malkovich that is one of my favorite movies of all time. And that's not what we're talking about today. We're
No.
talking about their follow-up movie that they did together called Adaptation, which is a very, very interesting movie to talk about on many different levels, especially for
Yeah.
people like us who
Yeah.
are filmmakers or want to be filmmakers or screenwriters or whatever. This is a I this is one of my favorite movies about making movies,
Yeah.
about the creative process. Um, and I'm very excited to talk about it because I'm in love with this movie. You know, I love Charlie Kaufman,
Yeah.
and I love his writing style. I literally love all of his movies. Like there isn't one of them where I'm like, I love being John Malkovich. Love this movie adaptation. I love Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. That honestly might be my favorite of all his movies he's been involved
Yeah.
in. Significant to New York. I still don't understand what that movie's about. I need to watch it again. Um, Anomalisa was such a bizarre, weird movie that I didn't understand the first time I saw it, but the second time I saw it, I grew to love that movie.
Yeah.
And he has a new movie coming out on Netflix very, very soon called I'm Thinking About Ending Things. And that's kind of why I
Yep.
wanted to
Yep.
talk about the Charlie Kaufman movie, because I think we're going to talk about that movie most
Hell
likely.
yeah.
Um,
Hell
so,
yeah.
um, so I'm very excited to see what you think. Is this the first time you saw this?
Yeah, this is the first time I have not. I honestly thought I was much more well versed in Kaufman than I actually am, which is typical of me. But I've, you know what? I think I haven't seen anything Kaufman related until I saw Being John Malkovich this year. So I
This is his
started.
first movie. This is his
Yeah.
first big Hollywood script.
Which I'm really glad that I started with that because I thought that
Yes.
was like later in his career.
Yes.
So it's really
Yes.
cool. I thought Being John Malkovich was brilliant.
So you
And
guys are watching Adaptation first. You would
yeah,
be,
that would be
like
weird.
if you have no idea. So that's one of the things that we should talk about in this movie is this is one of the most meta movies like ever made. Like
Yeah.
in a really, really weird way.
Yeah.
And so this movie is stars Nicolas Cage as Charlie Kaufman,
Yes.
as the titular screenwriter of this movie.
Yeah.
Um,
Literally as Charlie Kaufman,
yes,
sort of.
yes, and his twin brother Donald who is a fictional character,
Yeah.
and funny enough, the credits of this movie say Charlie Kaufman and Donald Kaufman, and
Hmm.
I and which Donald Kaufman isn't real, is not a real person, but he's credited with a screenwriting credit, and he won an Oscar. Charlie Kaufman won an Oscar for this movie, and Donald Kaufman won an Oscar.
That's
Which is really,
hilarious.
really, really funny.
Wow, that's
Um,
hilarious.
really funny. But so it's about him as a screenwriter in Hollywood trying to. So he gets commissioned to adapt The Orchid Thief by
Yeah.
Susan Orlean, which is a real book,
Yep.
for the screen. And this script was written. Oh, this is a real thing that happened in reality, where Charlie Kaufman got this script to write, The Orchid Thief,
Yeah.
and this is what came out of it. Like,
Yeah.
so it's extremely meta. The movie is about this
Yeah.
guy trying to adapt this book.
Yeah.
And
And specifically it's about his writer's block, because he had such
yes,
an intense his story was that this adaptation came into its form that we know and love today because he had such a hard time adapting it that he just was just like fuck it, and he just
yeah,
made this bizarro
yes.
story.
And it's really funny to read about Charlie Kaufman, his reaction to this movie, right? Because he wrote this and he thought it was going to be the end of his career.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
went and I think he presented it to the studio, and they thought it was great, and which is shocking, first of all.
I know. I
And
find that so
then
shocking.
Spike Jonze got a hold of it, and he was like, "I have to make this movie like now." And so he basically he's the one that kind of pushed it into fruition. This
Yeah.
is a movie that should not be made. This is a
Dude,
bizarre,
yes. Yeah, I was thinking that.
weirdo movie that is so specific, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So I think it's good that we kind of contextualize what this movie kind of is before we kind of delve into it, because you kind of almost, to really fully appreciate this movie, do some research about who Charlie Kaufman is. Maybe watch Being John Malkovich and some of his other movies to kind of understand his mind and where he's coming
Yeah.
from. I think you'll get a lot out of this movie with
Yeah.
that in mind. But I don't know. Maybe if you don't know who Charlie, maybe this movie will work. I think it will. But
Yeah, I think it's interesting. Charlie Kaufman movies are really similar to Lynch in a lot of ways, where they both make movies that are just like spectacular movies. They're just spectacular.
yeah,
But the reason why they get made is because of their personality and their
yeah,
reputation, not because of the stories they write, but because of them as people. Like people
right,
want to watch like a Kaufman film. It's like I don't fucking care what I'm thinking about
yeah,
ending things is about. I don't
right,
fucking
yeah,
care. I just
exactly,
care
right, yeah.
that Kaufman's name is on it.
He's one of those actors that, yeah, you just I mean, if you hear the story of Being John Malkovich, you're like, that sounds fucking insane.
Yes.
Some people might be like, I will never watch that because that sounds fucking horrible. Or you're like me, and that sounds like the best movie ever made.
Yeah.
He makes really weird movies.
Yeah, and he talks about this in Adaptation and in interviews
Yeah,
about it. That
yeah,
Adaptation is the struggle about being an artist, where because in the film industry, it's so much based on like you can make. He said a great quote where he said, "If you make a conventional superhero movie or some kind of conventional movie and it does poorly, you still have a job. If you make
yeah,
a movie
right,
that it like is a risk and
yeah,
it does poorly, you're out of a job."
yeah,
And that's basically what runs the industry. And he's
yeah,
talking about all the time that it's just like he just finds that really boring. And in this
yeah.
movie, the Charlie Kaufman character is wanting to write the script that's just like I don't want to do it where there's like the
Character
typical
arcs,
character arcs and
right,
all that kind of
right,
stuff. So
right,
and this is really meta experience where in addition to it being meta to real life that happened in the past,
Yeah.
it's also relevant to the kind of movie it is and is received in the future,
Exactly.
which is so bizarre.
And yeah, and what you're saying, that dichotomy of like, and that's what the Donald character is, right? The
Yeah.
Donald character was written kind of from the perspective of this guy, this dude who wants to be in the Hollywood system, goes to all these seminars, writes this kind of stereotypical
Classical Hollywood
personality
thriller.
who's successful, who, you know, and that's probably my favorite part of this movie is the
Yeah.
dynamic between Donald and Charlie, because it is
Yeah,
goddamn
definitely.
hilarious. It
Yeah.
is goddamn hilarious. Like,
Also, like seeing that like anytime it's kind of a trend in movies to see like twins now, because it
Yeah.
happens so much.
right.
But it's something it's
And the same
kind of a
actors.
it's kind of a
Yeah.
trope that I don't really get tired of, especially when
No, I
it's
love
done
it,
well. And
This is one of
I
the
just
best
love
movies to
when
do
Nick
it.
Cage did it. He did
Yeah.
Nick Cage just
Yeah.
did such a crazy good job.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
Yeah.
I thought earlier, before I really was introduced into the cult of Nick Cage, I really believed he was just like a shitty actor who just had some funny exaggerated moments.
You know
It's like,
what's
dude,
so funny
this
you
guy's a
say
genius.
that?
He's a genius.
Well, it's so funny you say that, because there's this weird. It sucks that he's doing all these silly movies now.
Yeah.
And he'll do a good one every once in a while. You know, it's not like he only does silly movies. But
Do you know if Color in Space is good? That's a movie that
I
came out
heard,
recently.
I don't know. I heard there are good things about it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna watch it, I think. But
Anyways, continue with what you're saying.
But yeah, I mean, this guy's won an Oscar. I mean, he's
Yeah,
not
yeah,
like,
right.
like he's not like. And so it really is disappointing to see that his reputation now, especially with young people, is that he's this joke actor. He's this
Yeah.
guy who doesn't make good movies ever.
Yeah.
Like, and when someone tells me that, I'm like, I don't want to say you're an idiot, but you're an idiot. Dude, go,
Yeah.
like, go watch Adaptation. Go watch Raising Arizona. Go watch Leaving Las Vegas. Go watch Face Off. Like, all these
I mean, it's
crazy movies.
just a thing that's like, it's interesting because it's the movies are so everyone kind of has movies are so immediate in our conscious in society, you know,
Right.
like movies and media are all the thing.
Yeah.
But you know, we have this blend of the movies that are sort of impactful on like general society are the movies that get the most views. So like, again, for Robert Pattinson with Twilight, and then also the stuff that's the most recent. So it has to happen.
Exactly,
Like, so it's like, sure, like Adaptation was good and it's semi-recent and it's like had a lot of good press.
Yeah,
but it's 18 years old, so it's like if it has to be good and like have been made in the last 10 years.
Well, it's such a crazy thing, right? Because people still call Marlon Brando an amazing actor. Dude, if you look at the movies he's doing later in his career, like, what?
Well, that's another interesting thing.
Brando, you know?
Because like with Marlon Brando, because then there's a thing with when old actors like get old, then those movies, you look at it with like rose-tinted glasses, because then you just cherry pick the really good movies. Like, this guy had a perfect career. And it's like, dude, what about all the shitty ones? What about that?
Exactly.
He really sucked in that.
Yeah, and I think Adaptation is, I mean, I don't want to say it might be my favorite Nick Cage performance.
Yeah.
Just because I think
it's a really good one.
It's really good, but it's really subtle. You know, it's one of his more low. Like, this is the movie that I would show. Like, if you think Nick Cage is like a corny actor, you think he's just this over the top guy, watch this movie, because he's very subtle in this movie. Like, he's not these Nicolas Cage tropes. There's a couple. I mean, there isn't really a Nicolas Cage moment. There really isn't like a Dr. Bees, no! Dr. Bees! Like, there's not that moment in this movie. Like, there's not a moment you can pull from this movie and be like, oh, there's Nick Cage being Nick Cage. He has none of those moments like that.
Yeah.
And I think part of that is because he's playing a real character, real person.
Yeah.
But I love his performance, man. It's so subtle. It's like the opening scene of this movie is a great example of that, where Tilda Swinton is in this movie, who is amazing because it's fucking Tilda Swinton. And so she is this movie exec, and the opening scene is him at this meeting where he's getting commissioned to write this book. and he's sweating, and he's sitting there, and he has this like the Charlie character, right, is very neurotic. He's very nervous. He's very reserved. He's not good at meeting people, as he says in the movie.
Yeah.
And so that that is a great opening scene that represents his performance in this movie, because it's very, very subtle. I mean, it's very subtle, and the dialogue is just it's just awesome. I mean, it's just amazing. It's so funny. It's snappy. Like almost every moment, like one of the things I love, like the script of this movie, is it's so honest, right? There's no kind of bullshitting. There's no, because that's what I mean. Charlie Kaufman, when he was writing the script, he was in this state of
It
like,
kind of
almost
reminds
panic,
me,
right?
it reminds me of how Robert Crumb is kind of accidentally funny, even though he is intentionally funny. But because he just like reveals so much about himself, it's almost like shocks you with like, wow, that was really funny. But it was funny because it was really revealing, not because it was like a good joke. It's like, and there's a lot of moments like that where it's just so you get so introspective in the Charlie Kaufman character in like such a hilariously obsessive way, where you just go down this rabbit hole of, and I love how well that Nick Cage sort of like exaggerates it in that subtle way that you're talking about, because it's like Charlie Kaufman's not like that. But even like watching it, it was just like, oh my God, it does kind of feel like his persona there, but it's like an exaggeration of it's his anxiety personified. It's literally his anxiety and all of the problems he has when talking to people personified. And that's what makes the character so interesting, is that you get access to like that compartmentalized part of Charlie Kaufman. And that's what the character is. It's like, that's kind of my interpretation of it.
I think that's great. And also the way that Nick Cage plays Donald is fascinating.
So great.
It's so funny, and so I kind of want to get into like kind of what's like really interesting. Like the most interesting thing is kind of the way that Meryl Streep's character and Chris Cooper's character kind of are interspliced in this movie. One of the things that's kind of I could see someone being a little confused about is the lines of reality and like what are happening in like the script that he's writing are very blurred, right? They're very it's odd, right? Because you have this Donald character that he's writing in the script, but he exists in the real life. You know, he exists within this world where he's writing this script. And then along with that, there's false information about Meryl Streep's character that they present to you, and then they reveal that it's like a different way.
See, what's really interesting is that in addition to blending what's real and not real, like within the story, and also blending time, because you have the thing of where you see flashbacks, like while Nick Cage is reading the book, you flash back and see Nick Cage
writing the book.
And while she's writing the book,
and meeting John, Chris Cooper's character.
So and then it blends time and reality like that, like what's happening in the present moment. And then it also blends like what's real in the world of this movie, in the world of this story, is also different than what's real in our world. So it shifts between like the reality of what actually happened and then what just happens in the Kaufman version. But that version is still real to that movie. Like that happened in real life. That's not fantasy. Which is really cool. I really like that.
So I can see someone being like very kind of like, what the fuck is this movie? You know, but it's endlessly fascinating. You know, there are, every time I watch this movie, there's so many like different layers that I pull out of it, and so many different like things that I kind of pick up on that are like so subtle. Like I read that I think Nick Cage and Meryl Streep both said that when they read the script, it was like the best script they ever read, like
Uh-huh.
period.
Yeah.
And which is really saying something,
Yeah.
especially for
Yeah.
someone like both those actors who have been acting since like 1981 or 70s even.
Yeah.
So, and Meryl Streep has been in, how many movies, so
All of them, basically.
it's crazy. So
Yeah, because and
seems that way.
I think the genius of Kaufman, why he's such a good screenwriter, such like a masterful screenwriter, is that, which again is another brilliant thing about this script, is that he contorts these bizarre, super unconventional narratives
Yeah.
into like, this movie is not avant-garde.
Yeah.
It's weird and experimental, but it's so not avant-garde. Like, sure, Lynch does weird stuff, but he's more surrealist, so he gets away with sort of breaking rules because he's just like, my world is ruleless. But with Charlie Kaufman, he's just like, I'm going to obey all the rules by breaking them, and then they still follow the rules somehow.
Yeah,
which is just like, how does he do that?
A lot of the credit has to go to Spike Jonze as well, because he was able to kind of pace this movie and kind of focus it visually to such an efficient degree that it's shocking. Like, after I watched this movie like last night, I was just like, there isn't a dull moment in this movie to me.
No,
it is so well paced, and there's almost every moment, every scene has a point, and every scene gets somewhere, and that's just like so hard to do in a 2-hour movie.
Yeah.
And so I think Spike Jonze and Charlie Kaufman were like, these two films are just excellent. I wish that they would make another movie together, but I don't know. I don't know what they're Spike Jonze is doing his own thing, but
and Charlie Kaufman's directing now, so I love what I think is. I think the pacing is like a really, again, a genius thing about this. And one of the things I love about it is that they weren't afraid to sort of, one of my favorite things about this movie is how the third act is almost like this huge joke.
Yes. And it's, I would love to talk about that too, because that's like one of my favorite things about this movie and the script is that, so he is writing this. So the whole movie, he's basically trying to adapt this book, right? This book that's about orphans. And he's trying to kind of wrap his head around what this book is about. And ultimately, he gets to the point that the book is about disappointment in life, right? And the way that this movie ends is so insane. It's so insane. When I first saw this movie, I was like, what did I just watch? I actually was so baffled by the ending that I remember not liking it as much as I do now. The first time I saw it, I was like, that just derailed. But that's the joke, right? That he's making the movie that Donald is so successful in, right? Where he wants to make this movie that has no character arcs and nothing happens. And then he ends up writing this insane action-packed third act
that fits in all of the character arcs that would be in normal movies, all of the ending, and it works so much better. It's so much more meaningful.
So they kind of make it's this amazing point about, and even the end where he is talking to his we were also talking about how this movie is basically he's struggling with the love of his life, trying to get his the love of his life back. I mean, that's kind of what this whole movie is that he's struggling with
which it kind of is. That's like a theme, and it's also like not about that at all,
but,
and it's like something
the ending highlights that, right, where he finally gets he had to go through Donald dying in this horrible car crash, this insane like encounter with Susan and John, where John gets eaten by a crocodile.
Yeah.
He's driving away, and then like he finally gets the courage to
Yeah.
tell his uh the crush that I love you, and at
Yeah.
the end of the day, she says, you know, I can't be with you right now, but I love you, you know,
Yeah.
and it's kind of a disappointment, right? It's kind of this movie's kind of being about almost being okay with disappointment. And
Yeah.
there's this the great one of my favorite last lines ever in a fucking movie is when he goes, you know, okay, so Charlie pulls out, he has hope, you know, for the love of his life or whatever. And the last line is, I wrote it down. He goes, "I like this. This is good."
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
I love that. I love
and
that.
it's like I get chills just thinking about it because it's basically you're watching this movie that this guy wrote about himself about coming to terms with disappointment, coming to terms with it's like this movie you're watching a therapy session happen,
Yes. Yeah. You
and
know,
it's so I've never seen such a brutally honest
yeah.
movie coming from like a screenwriter, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and dude, you know, you got my brain turning, and I was in thinking about sort of like the character arcs, and the thing that I connect with so much was the transparency and just the accuracy of the struggle to make something
Yeah.
is depicted better than anything I've
Yes.
ever seen
Yeah,
before
yeah.
in
Yeah,
any
really, it's
other.
also it's totally accurate, it's also really funny. Like, it's
Yeah, yes.
really funny.
And I was thinking
Um,
about like the thing about this movie is that these characters sort of have like these character arcs, but like you don't really get like the conventional kind of resolution for the brother, because he just changes into, like, you go on the third act romp, which just sort of changes into
right.
conventional movie. And to me, the real transformation that happens is in Charlie Kaufman in our world. His
Exactly.
transformation, like this movie, the arc of this movie is Charlie Kaufman writing this movie. That's
Right.
what's so cool about it,
Yeah.
because
And
by the
all
end,
yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like, oh my god, he did it. I just watched
Yeah.
him
Yeah.
do it, and
Yeah,
you
right.
don't realize
Yeah.
it's just like the character arc was me watching this.
But what's
It's like
crazy
that's
about
really
it
cool.
is that it's really emotional. Like, it's not just
Yeah,
like thing that's like that's what I think Spike Jonze, Meryl Streep, Nicolas Cage, and all these people that were involved in this movie were connected to so much, right? It's just it's the creative process. It's watching
yeah,
someone
yes,
they like get to the end of this creative process, and at the end of the day, actually making a script that has unique themes to it, unique
yeah.
kind of like he's taking his real life. You know, you always hear the screenwriting write what you know, right? And there isn't. I mean, this is uh, write what you know, right?
Yeah.
Almost what you're experiencing in your life. And I kind of saw the Donald character as the urge to make Hollywood movies, right? The urge
Yeah.
to, and he finally kills Donald at the end of the script, and
Oh,
he's
that's
okay with
interesting.
that. You know, he's accepting at the end, like what I'm writing is good. This is good. I like this. You know,
Yeah.
and he moves on. He's
Yeah, I
not
like that a
because
lot.
a lot of the movie is him being jealous of Donald, being jealous of this guy who's going to these bullshit writing courses, which is one of my favorite scenes of the movie when he goes
Yeah.
when when Charlie's like, I gotta go. I'm in writer's block, I gotta go to this writing seminar, and
Yeah.
he gets yelled at. And like, I love that scene. But
Yeah. So it's really good.
it's like, okay, thanks. But like and so that's what the Donald character kind of represents to me is that
Yeah, I
he's
like that a lot.
always being compared to him, and he's always barging in whenever he has a weird creative idea that like spark, and he barges in and is being annoying, and he's always getting in the way of the creative process, right? That
Yeah.
this, and that's probably what his line is like, you know, and
I mean, I
similar
feel stuff
to
like that. I feel stuff like that all the time when I'm making stuff where it's like I'm working on
especially think about
something.
someone like him who's already in the Hollywood system too, like who's
Yeah.
writing this book for Hollywood, but he has this line of like, I can't adapt this. This is not adaptable, you know. And he wrote a screenplay about how he couldn't adapt it, but at the same time, he kind of did.
Yeah, right. Right.
Because he wrote a script about what the book is kind of loosely about and
Yeah,
using the
see,
characters in the book.
yeah, and this is what I like
So
about this
bizarre.
so much is that like when you're touching on things, what he really captured, which I would love to read the book now to see what my experience of the book was, but I feel like what he really captured, which is like this is such a genius way to adapt things, which is also like a really clever name for adaptation, is such a great name for this movie.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
a double entendre is just kind of like a funny like joke, but it's also like so meaningful.
Yeah.
But the thing I like about this movie is that even though it's not like a literal adaptation of the book, it's more of like an adaptation of the themes of the book.
Exactly.
And I feel like that captures the emotion so much better.
Right. And we talk about like adaptations a lot on this podcast, and like, you know, this is obviously not like if you're going to adapt a book, this probably isn't what you should go for. But you know, like, and there's a great joke in this movie about that, right? Where he's like, where when he first writes himself in the script, he's like,
yeah,
dude,
this
I
is
just
stupid.
wrote myself into the script, you know, and but you know, ultimately worked. You know, it's not pompous. It's not, you know, because I don't think he even intended this to be made clearly. So,
you know, I have kind of an
funny.
interesting question, which this might be a bit of a digression, but maybe talk about this real quick, and we can talk about like cool moments that happened in the movie. But I was thinking about how this movie is, you know, it's the conundrum where you have like the style where he's going so against the typical screenwriting teaching by when in this process of writing this movie, and Charlie Kaufman just sort of seems like the kind of guy who goes against it and sort of drops the rules. But you know, the thing I'm thinking about that's like you really difficult to like comprehend, like in terms of pedagogy is I'm thinking about, because this movie is taught, and it's weird to say I love this model of making stuff, and I think the model that like he's touting is to say, hey, write things authentically to you, and that's meaningful to you. Don't let the boundaries of things confine your ideas. But I think that like if people, a lot of times if you just show people to just say, hey, make stuff like this, then you honestly see a lot of students just make really pretentious garbage. Because and that's it's just like and it's like
it's not Charlie Kaufman.
Yeah.
Like this dude is like a literal genius. Like the dude, like he wrote being John Malkovich. He wrote Internal Sunshine for the Spotless Mind. You know, he's an incredible writer.
Yeah.
But like, like that's so right. I mean, the idea of like what he's getting at is what you should get out of this movie is write authentically to yourself. You know.
Yeah.
What you shouldn't get out is like, I'm gonna make a self-indulgent kind of movie about my own life.
Yeah.
Use my own name. You know what I mean?
Yeah. See, it's interesting because like with the movie,
saying it can't be done.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying like you're gonna be compared to this.
Yeah, but yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, that's the thing, because like it really works if you're a student and you want to make a movie like Silence of the Lambs or like Casablanca. Those take off of like traditional movie tropes and genre.
They make that point in this movie.
Yeah, exactly. What genre are you?
Donald's character literally is like, what genre are you? You know?
Yeah.
And that's so, but he actually has a kind of a weird point there, right?
Yeah.
For some people, you know?
Yeah.
But for Charlie's character, he's like, I don't fucking care that genre. I just want to make something that is authentic to myself.
And if you're, and really at the end of the day, if you're really going to want to write like Charlie Kaufman and you want to do it successfully, at the end of the day, the thing that you make is going to be nothing like Charlie Kaufman.
No.
Because that's how Charlie Kaufman writes. He writes Charlie Kaufman. So you can write Charlie Kaufman, but then you're just writing Charlie Kaufman, and that's not very interesting.
He's one of those guys. I mean, this is one of those actors that has such a unique
Yeah.
and creative
well,
mind.
the other thing I have about it too is I think that this is a model. I think more people should write like this, write like not necessarily literally like Charlie Kaufman, but as authentic as Charlie Kaufman does.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just not an easy thing to do.
No.
And it's not necessarily a safe thing to do either. Exactly. Yeah.
Basically is what this movie is.
And I think that's such a great message to it, where it's like he's imploring you to say, try to do something that no one has done before, and try to do all these things, and just accept your struggle.
Yeah, and like even like just try it, because if you don't, I mean, even if it doesn't pan out, at least you tried to do it. You tried to do something that is truly unique and different.
Yeah.
And I don't think about how many Charlie Kaufman probably has hundreds of scripts that are like, this is about a toad who goes to the supermarket one day, and it's the day in the life of the toad.
Yeah, sure,
something dumb like that. You might have hundreds of ideas that are like this.
Yeah.
So he probably went through with that.
I mean, you see this in Adaptation, where he had all that bad ways to start a script, where he's just like, let's start at the beginning of the universe, and you see all that's what I love about the beginning. Remember? Exactly. That's what I love that about the movie, is the whole beginning, where he's going through all these terrible ideas to start the movie with, and they're truly awful. They're truly would not be good ways to start a movie. And he's being serious. Like, I'm sure he was like, okay, let's start like this. It's like, wow, that was so... I love... One of my favorite scenes is after he has the spiel where he thinks he has the breakthrough about, like, writing. It's like, okay, we start with life, and we start with single-cell organisms. And there's that cut in the middle of it, and he's staring at the window and listening to it, and it looks like he's dying.
Dude,
I love that.
I wrote down this made me laugh so hard, because I remember you telling me that you showed me this recorder that you like talk into.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is Jesse.
Yeah.
I watched this and I was like, this is how I imagine Jesse every day.
Yeah.
Where he picks up this thing and he talks his crazy ideas, and then he wakes up in the morning and he goes,
yeah. I do that a lot. I literally do stuff like that, but I use my phone instead of that recorder. But I have stuff like that. I think we all kind of have like these, like, this is literally the best idea ever. And I'm scared to look back and look at my, because they're like, sometimes they're great. Sometimes they are great. And a lot of times they're really, really bad.
Exactly. But at least you put it down,
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. That's one of my favorite scenes. Well, dude. I don't even know, what else should we talk about? I mean, we haven't even talked about like Chris Cooper's character.
Yeah,
and, like,
we should talk about the story. What the story is.
Right. So basically, the story of the movie is that, like we were talking to Charlie Kaufman is commissioned to write this adaptation of this book called The Orchid Thief, and we are then introduced to Susan, who's the writer of the book. And so we kind of get these parallel narratives of Charlie Kaufman and Donald Kaufman, and then Susan writing the book, and her researching the book, meeting the protagonist of the book, who is hilarious. All the characters in this movie are fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Chris Cooper is excellent in this movie.
Yeah. Playing the wonderful toothless John LaRoche.
Yes. And he is a guy who lives in Florida and he's commissioned by, I think, a group of like Indians.
Yeah.
Native Americans. And he like goes around the swamp and collects orchids.
Yeah.
And he looks like a guy who's kind of not the brightest dude, right?
Yeah.
But he may be the smartest one in the movie. Where he has this knowledge of orchids and this love for orchids. And Susan's character has this great line where she says, I just want to be passionate about something as much as he is.
Yeah.
And that's so beautiful because, like, that's so true, like, watching, no matter their, social status or anything, passion is one of the most beautiful things in the world, right?
Yeah.
And so that's what kind of the John character like kind of represents in a way.
Yeah, and I
is-
think what's it's really cool about that too, that dichotomy is that like Meryl wants like that kind of
like she's
obliviousness
living
to
this
what.
like bougie lifestyle, like
Yeah,
New Yorker
and she
lifestyle.
wants that that freestyle lifestyle where she doesn't really, she can just love things and then move on and just love things and not
Right.
really care about the trajectory and just be satisfied doing that.
Like,
Similar to
yeah,
how Charlie wants to be like Donald and carefree and
yes,
just be
yeah,
passionate about writing, even if it's garbage, but just be happy about doing it.
right,
But
exactly, yeah,
the story is about them not finding that and having to
yes,
find something else.
about disappointment.
About
Yeah,
disappointment. Yeah, about
yeah, yeah,
disappointment.
yeah. And so, and then, but like, there's also a great line with Susan like connected to that where she's saying, you know, like another favorite scene from Chris Cooper where he talks about he's like, yeah, well, I got really obsessed with fish once.
Yeah.
Uh, I just
Oh,
go in the
this is
ocean and I just go in the ocean and collect fish. He's like, fuck fish. It's like, you don't love it anymore? It's like, no, fuck fish. It's like, why? Like, fuck fish. Like, he
oh,
never
dude.
gives a reason why he dislikes the fish.
I love he phrased it because he said I never have been in the ocean ever again. That's how much fuck fish.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
That's how much fuck fish.
Yeah.
Which is such like, it's kind of a poetic way to say that. It's like that's how
Absolutely,
much
yeah.
the feeling fuck fish.
Yeah, and but like she has this great line where she's like, "I wish I could do that. You know, I could just
Yeah.
love things and then move on. It's
Yeah.
not gonna be inside your your DNA almost."
Yeah.
And like it kind of reminded me of my lifestyle a little bit when I was young. I would like really get into Yu-Gi-Oh, and then I'd be like, "Fuck Yu-Gi-Oh," and then
Yeah.
get into fucking yo-yos and like fuck yo-yos, and then
Yeah.
I would get into like all, I would kind of have shit like that where I would like love something and then kind of
Move on.
learn
Yeah.
about
Never
it and
touch
move
him
on
again.
until I
Yeah.
found something like film and shit like that where I'm like, I'm into that. And that's what Orchids is for him. It's like the
Yeah.
work, like collecting flowers, collecting stuff like that. And yeah, beautiful. It's beautiful, man. It's awesome.
Yeah. And the story progresses where as Meryl Streep, well, we in the time period where
She's writing the
Charlie
book,
is
yeah.
trying to write,
Oh, yeah.
is trying to adapt it. That's in the past for Susan's character, the author. And so we have the first period where we're experiencing the story of what happens in the book, and alongside like Charlie trying to write the thing, which is interesting because the story in the book is sort of what is like the conventional story, is the hidden adaptation that comes into the end of the book.
Right,
So
yeah,
we kind of
yeah,
have
yeah.
like the conventional adaptation that this movie could have been in the background, cutting back and forth to like this meta thing.
Right.
And then we get to the end where the end of the book is that she just wants to see the ghost orchid, which is a super rare orchid that most orchid people just like, they fawn over and they're like, this is the rarest thing, and she just wants to see something that could make her feel passionate.
Right.
And she sees it and she feels nothing, and then she has to move on. And so that's kind of like the ending of that. And then there's a series where Nick Cage sort of has a freak out about like, how the fuck do I make this movie? And then he has that great like seminar with what's the actor called who,
Brian Cox.
Oh my god,
he's awesome.
I love that man.
Brian Cox is awesome.
God, he's so good.
You don't know who Brian Cox is? He's in like the Bourne trilogy. That's probably the biggest thing he's been in.
What did I see him in? I felt like I seen him in something recently.
He's a great character actor. He's in like tons of stuff.
I feel like he was in like a Paul Thomas Anderson movie or or something like that. I'll look at his filmography. But I love the turning point of that scene because like Donald was badgering Charlie to go for that whole point, and then it turns out to help him. I love the scene where he was like talking to him and he finally breaks down, and the guy's like, okay, look, you don't need any of this shit as long as you give him a banger ending. And Charlie said, you promise?
Yeah, yeah.
And I can't imagine the
Yeah.
amount of times I have wanted, like, I felt like that, like when, like, talking to our teacher,
Right.
I've been like, you promise it'll be okay if I
Yeah,
just
yeah,
put this in
yeah,
there?
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
you
yeah,
promise it will all work
yeah.
if I just add in this shot?
Yeah, yeah.
And,
Yeah.
you know, I'm sure that every single fucking director, this is just how, like, making movies and making art, it's how it goes. Like,
Yeah.
everyone who loves, like, a song or something, they just think, and maybe some, like, really conventional people who write superficially are kind of disconnected from it. But I really think that most songs that people are like, I love this song, you have to realize at some point that artist was so depressed and despised that song like nothing else they have ever experienced in
Or
their
they
life.
weren't. You know, it's either like I always hear stories like that, or I wait at like 10 minutes.
Yes, right.
Yeah,
It kind of
I
goes
only
both
hear those,
ways.
especially with music.
Yeah. Music. I think with film, since film is always such like an emotionally investing
Such a
process
long process.
and
Too.
so long that
Yeah.
you every time with a director you go there's like a period of depression that you have to
Yeah.
recover from.
Yeah.
And so I love that desperation and just like the hope of saying, like, it could be fucking anybody and says, if you just put this in here, it'll work. And it'll
Yeah.
be like, I believe you with my whole being.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it
Yeah,
does, it
dude.
works.
Yeah. The ending of this movie is so absurd. It's so absurd. Like, because in the I guess the script world or whatever,
Yeah.
in this version of the movie, like Susan falls in love with John
Yeah.
and she becomes like a drug addict.
Yeah.
And she like
Which they
she,
use, the orchid becomes like this kind of hallucinogenic cocaine.
yeah, dude, oh my, yes. Okay, the first time I saw it, I was like, I had no idea what that was. I was like, what is this green cocaine? And then I was like, that's the orchid. That's fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
But oh my god. So basically, and Donald and Charlie are like spying on her, and they see that. So they follow her to Miami to see what she's up to because Charlie can't talk to Susan
Yeah.
because
A reoccurring theme throughout the movie, which
Yeah.
is increasingly hilarious
yeah,
and cringy.
yes, and he can't has a lot of sexual fantasies about her, and
Every other woman, but
yeah,
her a
every other
lot.
woman, dude. Yeah. Which is funny, but also like that's another thing. It's so revealing too.
That's kind of the
So many-
Robert Crumb-esque
Yes,
qualities of it.
Yeah, not as creepy, but
Definitely not as creepy.
yeah, definitely not as creepy. But so they follow her to Miami, and they find where they're staying, and it becomes like a spy movie. Like it becomes
Yeah.
like a spy action movie where
Yeah.
like like Charlie like creeps in and they're having sex and they find him and John like butt ass naked like takes him in and puts him in the chair. He's like, that's the screenwriter. He's like, oh hey, how's it going? You're
Dude,
he's gonna play me.
that shot where he like goes from pissed to like the
Yeah.
wide shot of his ass, and he's
Yeah.
like, "Oh hey, how's it going?"
Yeah, dude, it's
So
hilarious.
perfectly timed.
That's Spike Jonze's jackass background for you.
Yeah.
But I love that scene because and then Meryl Streep's like, we gotta kill him.
Yeah.
There's almost like I don't even understand why she's like, I gotta kill him.
Yeah,
gotta
well, it's
kill
like,
him.
you know, it's like, it's great because it's this random, like, it's just the ending all after that point where it reveals that Susan actually does have a relationship with John
Right.
and is having an affair, sort of to make an ending to this, to
Yeah.
the orchid thief that didn't really have much story to it.
Right.
After that, then you start having like the conventional like third act things on it. So you have like the typical setup where it's like, we have to kill him.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's great because it totally makes sense for that character to me, because it's like her conventional lifestyle is threatened. And even though she finds relief from this, she's not authentic enough in herself to accept that that's the person that she's comfortable being, and
Yeah.
letting go of the safety of being the New Yorker writer. So it's
Right.
like, yeah, it's absolutely insane and hysterical that it would switch to be like, we have to kill him and send him on that romp, but it's also brilliantly logical, you know?
Yeah,
It's,
exactly. Yeah, yeah.
and it's just like, it's like on the verge of nonsense, which I
Yes.
love so
Yes.
much.
And like the first time I saw it, I did think it was nonsense. Like I
Yeah.
didn't know what the fuck was happening. Like
Yeah.
I kind of got the idea that it was supposed to be like an overblown third act, but when you watch it again, you really do see the intricacies of like God. It actually does make sense. Like it's logical. It's
Yeah.
funny that John gets eaten by a crocodile,
Yes.
but Susan's
Which is
reaction
a
to it
Deus Ex Machina, which I loved.
yes. Yes, and there's one thing that so he was told not to do that and told not to put narration in the movie,
Yeah.
and
And he
it
does
has
both.
both of them. But it's Susan's reaction that is very visceral, right, and emotional that you kind of you feel for her because when he's holding his dead body, she says, "I want to be new. I want to
Yeah.
be
Oh my
reborn."
God.
And it's like whoa, you know, and that's the last we see of her, you know,
Yeah.
and which is
Yeah,
really
there was two speeches at the very ending of this very conventional third act.
conventional, yeah,
Where you know, first is that scene where right before that speech, the Meryl Streep speech was one of the things that was like, wow, that
yeah,
was like super profound.
yeah,
And then before that, the other speech I loved was when which is sort of, this is the speech that sort of adds in Charlie Kaufman's character arc, where there really wasn't much development of it, but he's when he's having the conversation with Donald, and Donald says, you
yeah,
know, what people think about me is their business, you know, it's like,
right,
it's what you love, it's not who loves you.
yeah,
And it's like, and it just like, and after, in him saying that was just totally was the moment that he was like, I'm transformed, I'm a new person.
yeah, right,
And
exactly,
it was
yeah,
like, it was
yeah,
just like, that's so, you have to be, that is such good writing to be able to fit in, like within this insane, like weird third act, to
yeah,
fit in this poignant thing
yeah,
that both is a joke and also
right,
a profound truth, that
yeah,
both finishes a character arc that was never really there, and
yeah,
then goes on to end the weird story that you're writing on top of that.
right. It's
It's
kind
just
of
like,
Coen
wow.
Brothers-esque
Exactly. I was
the way
wondering
he
if I
does
just
it.
felt like this was Coen Brothers because of
No, oh
Arizona
yeah,
and
there's
like that, but
definitely similarities to the Coen Brothers
it
and
feels
Kaufman
very
for
Coen
sure.
Brothers.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's kind of, I can't, it's hard to make a comparison. It's kind of like if Coen Brothers had more of the abstractness of Paul Thomas Anderson, is kind
Yeah,
of what it seems
yeah,
like
that
to me.
yeah, that's actually really funny. Actually, there's a the guy who does the music in Adaptation is Carter Burwell. He's scored like all of the Coen Brothers movies.
Oh, I
It's
love the music
funny,
in this
yeah, yeah,
movie,
it's
by the
great.
way. I really liked it.
Funny connection there, but yeah, man, this movie's amazing. This movie's incredible.
Yeah.
Um,
And the cool thing about it is that even though we've talked about it a lot, watch it and you still have no
yeah,
idea
well, I mean,
what
we
to
haven't really
expect.
scratched the surface and kind of like there's so many deep
Yeah.
things
We
going
didn't even
on.
talk about how this movie starts on the set, really, of being John
Yeah.
Malkovich.
That's another thing that like blew my mind the first time I saw it because you know, like I said, I love that movie. It's one of my favorite movies, and that was so weird to me to see because
Yeah.
it was like they came back to recreate the scenes
Yeah.
for this, and it doesn't. It feels like they were on the set. Like
I
it
know.
felt
I
also
know.
Spike Jonze. This is like he's like it's funny 'cause he's one of my favorite people in the entertainment industry just because like
Uh-huh. Yeah.
all his whole career is like so inspiring to me. But like what he does so brilliantly in this movie is blends like like the two Nicolas Cages and the blending of the the home footage or whatever of the
Yeah.
Alphabet stuff with this is blended so well together. It's like
Yes.
seamless.
Yes.
And like a lot of these twin movies, like I could, especially recent ones, I could kind of see like, okay, I know how they're doing this. This was so seamless, and it's
Yeah.
partly from the directing, but it's also Nicolas Cage's performance. They
Yeah.
feel like two
He's
distinct
physically
yes,
acting so much different
yeah,
that
yeah.
you don't, and you don't really like, their clothes are different enough that you can recognize them, but like
What is their
Donald
speech patterns?
stands and their speech patterns,
Yeah, yeah.
they are different.
Oh man.
I don't know why. I must have just
Okay, yeah.
remembered that
I
you
got it.
were
I
okay.
got it.
So let's let's monkey
The
back in
power went
here.
out. Hold on. Okay.
How you about that?
1, 2,
Three,
1, 2.
3, 2, 1. Monkey.
Monkey. All right.
Cool.
Cool. All right, folks. Power went out. My angle's different. I'm looking at the camera now. The power in my house decided to just explode. So I apologize if there is an edit in here. Um,
But it's gonna be so seamless that you
it's gonna
won't
be
even know.
so seamless.
So
And I don't
seamless.
even remember what you were talking about, but I got it was
I meant to go and listen to what we just recorded, but it's whatever.
I got
Let's
it was
just
I got it was profound.
it definitely
Um,
was.
and I think we should wrap it up because it's
Let's wrap it
starting
up.
and it might happen again.
So
So
Thick, did you like this movie?
I can't recommend the movie enough. Um,
Man.
please watch this movie if you haven't already. And watch everything that's written by Charlie Kaufman. You will not be disappointed by at least one of them.
Yeah. I can't fucking agree more. This is one of like my favorite movies I've seen in a long time. Just
Yeah.
in addition to it just being really good, it was just so inspirational to see. It's to see something this different and well made.
I think
You know,
everybody who writes, anybody who makes something for fun or for, if you want to do this for your living, you should watch this movie because it's very inspiring in that
definitely.
regard.
Well, you know what that makes this, but Thick. You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Thick
Thick
and
butter
butter
proof.
proof.
Dude, we got it.
Woo!
We nailed it. Do you have what we're gonna watch next week?
See, I'm conflicted.
I will have seen Tenet by next week.
Okay.
So I will report back.
Yeah. That sounds like, I think for Tenet, I would love to say like we could do a Tenet episode, but I just don't know if I'd be able to see it.
Yeah.
So I think it's better
Totally
to say
okay.
like, I think we should do it where like if I can do it, then we'll figure that out. But I think definitely you can give your 2 cents on it next week. But I'm conflicted because I have 2 movies I want to watch.
Okay.
And I think I'm going to give you an option again to pick between one of the 2. Because the 2 movies I've been thinking about is that I've been kind of wanting to watch David Lynch, so I'm thinking we should finally try to watch Wild at Heart.
Okay.
That's option number 1.
Yeah.
Option number 2 is a horror movie called Spudnik, which came out this year.
Let's do Wild at Heart.
Okay.
So I got the Blu-ray. We gotta watch that. We said that we got that, so we're gonna do it. So
all right, finally, let's do it. Wild at Heart next week.
Yeah.
I almost can say the date because we're consistent with when we release things now.
Yeah.
We're releasing things on episodes will be out on Tuesday. We're gonna probably be making social media posts like around that release date.
Yeah.
And if you're on the Instagram, I'm going to be posting more of like the Thick and Butter tunes on Saturdays and stuff. And that's going to go on ad nauseum until something else happens. But in the meantime, tell your mom and dad,
tell your sister, tell your
sisters,
brother,
half cousins,
tell your second cousin, twice removed,
identical twins.
Yes. Identical twins. Color identical twins. Yes.
They probably like it if you do.
Subscribe, comment, leave a like. We love you.
Yeah.
Bye bye.